There is item number 1 has been pulled, so you have one bill here and I guess another one in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief, taking into consideration the schedule that you have. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce AB 156. Let me begin by saying that I will accept the amendments proposed by the committee. Briefly, AB 156 would ensure that disadvantaged communities have the ability to apply competitively for greenhouse gas reduction fund money by establishing a technical assistance program at the ARB. By using a similar model that works for the State Water Resources Control Board, this bill will focus on giving NGOs the ability to collaborate with local governments to offer technical assistance to do a couple of things. 1, identify state agencies with appropriate programs. 2, develop competitive project proposals. 3, coordinate existing local programs to reduce GHGs. And 4, conduct community outreach to residents in disadvantaged communities. In brief, the reason we're bringing this forward is because most of the disadvantaged communities who are authorized under previous legislation to receive significant amount of funds don't have the consultants, don't have the lobbyists, don't have the staff to understand how to get through the labyrinth of state government. And so what we're wanting to do with AB 156 is provide that technical assistance so that disadvantaged communities in rural communities and urban communities have the ability to access the funds that we've made available. And respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Witnesses in support.
Chair and members, my name is Tom Knox. I'm with Valley Clean Air Now. We're a 501c3 based in the San Joaquin Valley. Our state's most impacted communities often lack the capacity to seek funding for programs to address their severe environmental and socioeconomic challenges. This creates a cycle where larger cities are able to secure grant funding, leaving some of the areas most in need to fall further behind. This bill seeks to create a level playing field by supporting technical assistance to encourage equal access to GGRF funds to spur both economic and environmental transformation. Valley Can's experience in the San Joaquin Valley has been that there is ample desire to address local challenges, but there is often not enough bandwidth within agencies to apply for and administer grants. Bringing in outside experts to help design, execute, and capture program data is a critical step in bringing long-term change to the San Joaquin Valley and other disadvantaged communities throughout the state. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members. Katrina Robinson on behalf of CalSTART, also in support of the bill today. Just want to thank the author for his efforts. And CalSTART is working on a Center for Alternative Transportation Technology also in the San Joaquin Valley and able to provide technical assistance to other communities as well throughout the state that need help figuring out what state funds are available and how to reduce GHGs and improve public health and air quality in their regions.
Sylvia Solis on behalf of the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District. According to the CalEnvirus Green Model, 23 of the top 30 most disadvantaged communities are in the valley. This bill would help those communities with the resources to compete effectively for cap and trade funds. So we ask for your support. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Brian Augusta on behalf of the California Rural Legal Assistance Foundation, on behalf of our low-income clients who would benefit from the use of these funds. Without the resources to even put together the application and get through the door, we can't bring these resources to our disadvantaged rural communities, and we would urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Paul Gonzalez representing the South Coast Air Quality Management District in support.
Kelly Ditto on behalf of California League of Conservation Voters in support.
Quentin Foster on behalf of the California Environmental Justice Alliance in support.
Kyle Jones of Sierra Club, California in support.
Rob Wiener, California Coalition for Rural Housing, also in support. Thank you.
Caitlin Rodner-Sutter, Environmental Justice Program Director for the Diocese of Stockton, in strong support. Thank you.
Megan Rose with Leading Age California in support. Thank you.
Witnesses in opposition.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee, Amy Mago on behalf of the California Chamber of Commerce. The Cal Chamber supports the cost-effective implementation of AB 32. However, the decision by the California Air Resources Board to arbitrarily withhold and sell allowances will raise billions of dollars from taxpayers, which runs contrary to the express goals of AB 32, which is to maximize benefits and minimize leakage risks as well as cost. As Cal Chamber has long held, CARB does not have the authority to raise revenue through the auctioning of allowances, and given the substantial legal uncertainty surrounding this auction, we must oppose AB 156. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Stacy Heaton with the Rural County Representatives of California, RCRC. Typically, we support giving technical assistance on any sort of grant program. However, in this case, we feel that the model being used to define disadvantaged communities by Cal EPA for the dissemination of greenhouse gas reduction funds is extremely flawed. It effectively shuts out 29 of our 34 member counties from getting any of those funds as it is, and therefore we oppose giving any additional funds to disadvantaged communities until that definition is cleaned up. Thank you.
Other witnesses in opposition? I will note that the author did take amendments to expand the definition for more rural areas. We use the definition of 80% median income. So the last witness might want to reconsider their position now that more of the rural counties that the author wished to help are included. Other questions from the committee? Mr. Hadley.
Thank you very much for bringing this bill forward. I just have a question about whether you and your office have a point of view as to the appropriate amount of funding for this program.
I don't. I don't have that view at this time. But I guess if I were to look at how we see this working, is in very similar fashion to how it works over the State Water Board, and I don't know what the funding is for implementing that. But the State Water Board has really figured out how to work with local communities to get money out the door for really good projects that are actually alleviating problems, and so that's how I see this moving forward.
Other questions, comments from the committee?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Mr. Wood has come.
Just a question for Mr. Perea. Based on the new definition, how many other counties does that bring into play as far as being eligible?
$26.
26 additional counties?
26 additional counties.
And the original number was 30.
It would not be 26 additional counties, but it would technically be by census tract. So if there was a poor area surrounded by a rich area, they could still qualify. I think at this point, most of the rural counties then now would qualify.
Right. That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
With that, there's a motion and a second. Would you like to close, Mr. Perea?
Just respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Assemblymember Williams?
Aye.
Williams, aye. Dolly? Aye. Dolly, aye. Garcia? Hadley?
Aye.
Hadley, aye. Harper? McCarty? Aye. McCarty, aye. Rendon? Aye. Rendon, aye. Stone? Aye. Stone, aye. Wood? Aye. Wood, aye.
Thank you. Your bill is out.
Thank you very much.
We will. I will just be handing it over to Mr. Stone for one bill, and so we will take Mr. Gordon up for your bill. My one only comment is to be added as a co-author. If that gives you a hint of where my chair's recommendation is, I think that maybe.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gordon.
Thank you. I have two bills. Let me start with AB 901, a bill that the chair would like to be added as a co-author to. California has set a goal of achieving a recycling rate of 75% by 2020. Many actions will be needed to achieve that goal, but most importantly, it will be necessary to have accurate and timely data on waste disposal and recycling. Currently, data is sent to counties from disposal facilities, and then the counties forward this information to CalRecycle. AB 901 would require waste disposal facilities and recycling composting operations to report directly to CalRecycle. They would do so using the electronic disposal reporting system that is already in place at Cal Recycle. AB 901 would strengthen Cal Recycle's fraud enforcement authority by allowing the imposition of civil penalties against those who falsely or fail to submit timely, complete, or accurate waste flow information. Specifically, AB 901 would allow Cal Recycle to impose civil penalties which mirror the civil penalties that they already are allowed to place on waste tire activities. The authority to have civil penalties imposed is needed because, according to Cal Recycle, 2/3 of the current reports are late, incomplete, or inaccurate. Again, timely and accurate reports are needed if we are to achieve our goal of 75% recycling. The proposed enforcement authority in AB 901, as I said, mirrors the authority that Cal Recycle has in place. Finally, AB 901 also simplifies and streamlines Cal Recycle's authority for requiring recycling facilities to submit information on the final disposition of material those facilities accept and process, by eliminating the requirement that facilities identify the county of origin on the recycled material that they handle. I appreciate the committee's suggested technical amendment and will accept it. And with that, I have witnesses, and I would respectfully request an aye vote.
Thank you. So your first witness, please.
Nick Lapis with Californians Against Waste. We're not the sponsor of this bill, but we are in strong support. It's clear that the state needs better enforcement tools to track the flow of waste in both recycling and disposal facilities. According to Cal Recycle, in 2013, the department only received 70% of the reports they were supposed to get on time, and to this date, they still are missing 29 of the 400 reports they were supposed to receive. The existing reporting requirements are all there, but there are no teeth in terms of enforcement, and Cal Recycle is limited to publicly shaming companies and jurisdictions that don't report by putting stuff on the website or announcing it at the public meeting, but they can't levy any fines or do any investigations the way they do with all their other programs. This simply treats these facilities the way we do tire facilities and others as well. So we ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Next witness, please.
Mr. Chairman, members, Paul Smith with the Rural Counties RCRC. I'll be brief because I know my two colleagues really want to jump in and they have an interesting take on this bill. But everything that's been mentioned by Mr. Gordon and my colleague here are true. Rural counties need this data. We need it timely. We need it accurate for our reporting systems. It's what we do to get to the goals of state laws. We encourage this bill to move forward.
Thank you. Please.
Mr. Chair, members, Justin Malone on behalf of the Alameda County Waste Management Authority. We're very much in support of the current provisions in this bill. We are working with the author and Cal Recycle and other stakeholders for an additional piece of this puzzle, which specifically addresses issues that Alameda County and you'll hear San Mateo County have. We're confident that we'll get it, and we look forward to supporting the bill more fully next hearing.
Thank you. Next witness.
Yes, Steve Cruz on behalf of the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors here in strong support. And to echo Mr. Milan's comments, the accuracy and timeliness of the data is important to not only ensure compliance with meeting our targets, but also ensuring that we get our fair share of critically needed funding for recycling and trash programs. And we will continue to work with the author to ensure that that happens. And again, greatly appreciate the Assemblyman Gordon's willingness to introduce this bill. Thank you.
Other witnesses in support, just state your name and your support.
Kim Schneider, on behalf of the California Compost Coalition, in support. Thank you.
Kyle Jones with Sierra Club California, in support.
Witnesses in opposition. There's a motion by Mr. Stone, second by Mr. Wood. No witnesses in opposition. Any other witnesses with testimony neither in support nor opposition? With that, I just want to thank you for doing the bill. Oh, Mr. Hadley.
If I can ask a question, Mr. Gordon, does the mechanics of this bill deprive counties of any information that they're currently receiving today?
No, actually, we believe that what will happen here is that the counties will actually get more accurate and more timely information because of this reporting mechanism.
But is it, as I've read, I haven't read every line of it, but I understand the reporting obligation is shifted to a different authority than the county?
So currently, the facility reports to the county, who reports to the state.
Right.
what this bill will do is have the report go directly to the state. The state then provides the information back to the counties. The reason for doing it this way is that we could not set up a system where 58 separate counties have some level of enforcement capacity on this, so we needed a statewide enforcement capacity. So by having the reports go directly to the state, we get that capacity, which guarantees the timeliness of the reports, but we also guarantee that the counties still get the information that they need.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments, questions from the committee? I thought this was an important bill because I had noticed as a local elected official over the years that despite the fact that we had a 50% recycling mandate and then a 75% recycling goal, even as recycling in many jurisdictions approaches 70%, we had never actually reduced the amount of actual tonnage going into many landfills. And now part of that explanation is because of affluences, affluenza as some people call it, but some of that is simply an enforcement issue. Some of that is simply we don't have all the tools to make sure that these numbers are real. And so there is a lot of work to be done, and I really appreciate the bill for being a part of solving some of those basic questions. So the motion is due pass as amended to appropriations. Would you like to close, Mr. Gordon?
Just respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Please call the roll.
Assemblymember Williams?
Aye.
Williams, aye. Dolly? Aye. Dolly, aye. Garcia? Hadley? Aye. Hadley, aye. Harper? McCarty? Aye. McCarty, aye. Rendon? Aye. Rendon, aye. Stone? Aye. Stone, aye. Wood? Aye. Wood, aye. 7.
7 ayes. Your bill is out.
Great. Thank you.
You have one other bill.
I do. AB 1159. Household batteries and home-generated sharps are widely used, lack convenient disposal and recycling opportunities, and have significant and indisputable end-of-life impacts. Without convenient recycling options for consumers, these products that are banned from disposal actually continue to end up in the waste stream. As a result, local governments are often saddled with a significant cost and responsibility of diverting these banned products to disposal or recycling processes. AB 1159 takes one approach, a product stewardship approach, to the problem of safe disposal of household batteries and home-generated sharps. AB 1159 would establish the product stewardship pilot program that will require producers and product stewardship organizations of covered products to develop and implement a product stewardship plan. The pilot program would operate under regulations to be adopted by CalRecycle. The regulations would be performance-based instead of command and control, meaning that the product manufacturers would be given certain performance goals for the program, but would be left to develop the compliance mechanisms in the most cost-effective and efficient manner possible to meet the program goals. Specifically, AB 1159 would require product stewardship organizations, an entity created by one or more producers of covered products, to develop and implement a product stewardship plan. On or before January 1st, 2017, CalRecycle will be required to adopt implementing regulations, including performance standards for a covered product, procedures for plan submittal and annual reporting, and the appointment of a stakeholder advisory committee. AB 1159 also gives CalRecycle the ability to determine whether a plan is complete or incomplete and approve or deny a proposed plan. AB 1159 would require an organization that submits a plan to pay an annual administrative fee to CalRecycle. This fee must be set by CalRecycle in an amount that is adequate to cover the costs of administering the program. AB 1159 also establishes a penalty scheme for failure to comply. Finally, since it is a pilot program, AB 1159 would sunset the provisions of the legislation and the related CalRecycle regulations on January 1st, 2024. I appreciate the work on these issues over the years, including the work by the joint author of this bill, Chair Das Williams. The committee has worked closely with my office, and I'm willing to take all of the amendments suggested in the committee analysis. I am actively engaged with all parties including both battery and Sharps industry stakeholders, local governments, waste haulers, environmental interests, as well as Cal Recycle, in attempting to negotiate a framework policy which will be amenable to all parties, but also, in the end, results in safer disposal, increased recycling rates, and shared fiscal responsibility between local governments, consumers, and manufacturers of the affected products. This is both a complex and vexing issue for all of the parties involved, but it is most difficult for the consumer, who looks for a convenient way to dispose of their spent products. I am committed to finding a solution that is reasonable for all. I have witnesses today in support of the bill, and I would respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Motion by Mr. Stone, second by Mr. Rendon. Please
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Jason Schmelzer here on behalf of the California Product Stewardship Council, the Western Placer Waste Management Authority, and the Solid Waste Association of North America, the California chapters. If I can, just want to briefly set the stage for you. This is really a bill about responsibility. So I want to talk a little bit about the responsibilities on local government at this point. Local governments are generally responsible for managing the waste stream. There's a 50% diversion goal. There's a 75% statewide source reduction, composting, and recycling goal. There's mandatory commercial recycling, mandatory commercial organics. There's a lot of things that have been done over the past several years that increase kind of the responsibility of local governments. And so what's really the impact of that? One, aggressive investment on the part of local governments. A lot of time, energy, and money, frankly, being spent on appropriately managing the waste stream in the state of California. And number two, frankly, a more human impact. You have a lot of folks, local government, municipal employees, that stand on these lines where there are conveyor belts, and they're trying to pluck recyclables out of that. So you have a lot of very hands-on work being done in that paradigm. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is, from our perspective, and this list, it's online, there are a host of products that have been banned from disposal, and what that does for local governments is it essentially requires them to detect, divert, and responsibly manage those products. The result is we have a relatively high cost, high dollar amount being spent on a relatively small portion of the waste stream for local governments to manage those things. Outside of cost, there are environmental implications when you have like mercury lamps, things of that nature. There are occupational safety and health concerns with some of these products because of Sharps, et cetera. So there are a lot of problems with these products that are banned from disposal, and they're left to the local government to manage them. What 1159 does is it attempts to set up this pilot project that was outlined, and it creates these two stewardship programs to have local governments kind of ease their burden, have the manufacturers come in, participate in the collection and diversion and proper management of some of those products. In this case, it's batteries and Sharps. Batteries, because they're very costly for local governments to divert and recycle. They're around $2,000 a ton, where your normal garbage is around $45 a ton. Sharps, frankly, the instances of folks using homes.
You're going to have to wrap up.
Wrap it up? Okay,
Committee
very quickly.
has a 2-minute limit.
The folks that reach into the trash end up with Sharps in their hands. So that's the problem there. And with that, I'll hand off to my number two and urge you to vote yes on the bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Kara Martinson on behalf of the California State Association of Counties here in strong support would like to concur with the comments of my colleagues, took the words right out of my mouth. Counties manage household hazardous waste programs, and despite our best efforts and because of the tremendous cost associated with these programs, we're not able to collect as much of these products as we would like. And one of those strategies or solutions we're looking towards is extended producer responsibility. We do think there's a larger role for EPR in California, and we think it is a good complement to our overall household hazardous waste management strategy. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members, Josh Pane on behalf of the California Refuse Recycling Council. We're in strong support We applaud the efforts of Mr. Stone in previous sessions and others that have been after this task. We think that the author has gotten it just right, this pilot program. You're going to hear in a moment some opponents. Some of those same opponents and the people behind those opponents and those opponents were some of the same ones that decided, well, we should ban them from the landfill then. And then let's stop at that. Let's try to just ban this stuff from the landfill, the batteries. And they told each other, hey, if we just get them to ban it, then it'll be on somebody else. Now we're just simply, the author is just simply asking you, no, just because we banned it from the landfill a dozen years ago doesn't mean you're still not responsible for this toxic substance going in. So now you should share. That's all we're asking. We'd appreciate your support and ask for an aye vote from the businesses of California that have to do this stuff. Thank you.
Go ahead. Sylvia Solis on behalf of the City of Santa Monica. Our council has a position on the extended producer responsibility issue, and we are in strong support of this bill. Thank you.
Chuck Helgett, representing Republic Services, in support of the bill.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Paul Gonzalez, representing the cities of Cerritos, Thousand Oaks, and Torrance, in strong support of the bill. Thank you.
Justin Malone for the Association of Environmental Health Administrators and StopWaste.org, in strong support.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Amy Traynor, West Marin Environmental Action Committee, here in strong support of the bill. And thank you, Assemblymember Gordon, for your leadership.
Michael Radigan on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, Santa Clara County, in support.
Roy Zhang, Californians Against Waste, in support of the bill.
Andrea Ventura with Clean Water Action, and also a patient who struggles with what to do with my sharps. Strong support of the bill.
Mr. Chairman, members, Kelly Astor on behalf of the Solid Waste Association of Orange County, in support.
Steve Wilson, Campaigns Director for the Story Stuff Project, in strong support for the bill.
And last but not least, Paul Smith, rural counties, once again, in strong support of the bill.
Witnesses in opposition?
Tweeners.
Oh, well, we'll get to that. We'll let the opposition go first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, Jim Gross on behalf of Novo Nordisk, which is a manufacturer of medications for the treatment of diabetes, which obviously is implicated by the Sharps provision of this bill. We also have a number of other clients, both in the Sharps and Battery area, who are watching this issue closely. I want to start with the fact that Mr. Gordon noted his desire and his work to try to achieve a comprehensive solution to these issues. Our biggest concern with this bill and prior bills, with all due respect to Mr. Chair, who was an author of one of those bills, is the notion that every product in the area of household hazardous waste is susceptible and appropriate to an EPR approach. And we don't believe that is the case. We do believe that there are some circumstances where EPR does make sense. However, we believe that the discussions about convenience and cost are actually exacerbated by an EPR approach for things like Sharps. We are working with Assemblymember Mullen, and I will add taking a lot of heat for working with Assemblymember Mullen, on a comprehensive approach. We believe that you have to look at each product, and the local governments who are responsible for this need to look at every product to determine what is the best way to manage that particular product in the waste stream. The issue of Sharps has been discussed a lot in the legislature. What has become clear is that, yes, sometimes Sharps do end up in the garbage can, but there are various programs that are used to manage that. We believe that a much better job can be done. I think one of the things that local government acknowledges, and I would hope would acknowledge here, is that the level of participation that they have in any of these programs from a household perspective is extremely low. 10 to 15%. I suppose everybody is responsible for that particular issue, and my clients are willing to be part of how do you educate, how do you increase participation. But from our perspective with respect to this particular issue, batteries, sharps, drugs, etc. We have to stop thinking that we have to have separate programs, separate approaches, separate taxes, separate fees. We need to bring this all together, and on that basis, we are opposing the bill. Thank you.
Greg Herner on behalf of the California Healthcare Institute. We agree with Mr. Gross and his clients. We're looking for a comprehensive solution. I think that just on state websites you can find over 1,000 locations right now to discard sharps. And that's not a full listing of all of the places, because that doesn't necessarily include individual doctors' offices, and we'll take them back for a lot of patients. So we have a consumer behavior issue. And as the state adds products and adds more products to this mix that they want diverted from the waste stream, we need to figure out how to figure out a comprehensive solution. And so we're very interested in the concept put forward for a comprehensive solution. We're at the table for that discussion, and we'll continue to have those discussions and be participative in that.
Mr. Chair, members, Bernie Orozco on behalf of the California Cable and Telecommunications Association. I concur with the comments made before. A comprehensive approach is the best way to go rather than an individual silo, product by product by product. You lose efficiencies. More importantly, we talked about manufacturers being held responsible for this. The cable industry, by the mere fact that we provide a battery and a remote control, now qualifies us as a manufacturer. I'm not sure most folks know that, but I mean, this law has been on the books since 2006. We've been looking for better ways to recycle those batteries, but I'm not sure I'm sure this is not the approach that we want to go forward on.
Mr. Chair and members, Maureen Higgins representing Biocom and AdvaMed, the Advanced Medical Technology Association, in opposition for the reasons stated.
Mike Rogi with California Manufacturers and Technology Association, in opposition.
Jennifer Snyder on behalf of the Biotechnology Industry Organization, also in opposition.
Kevin Messner. I represent the Association of Home Appliance Manufacturers. We oppose this bill. And I just wanted to make a few brief points. The battery, it's unclear in the household battery. It's looking at rechargeable primary, secondary batteries, non-easily removable, and also by lumping products together.
We already have the limit of 3 testimonies, so just your name and support.
Okay.
Or
we oppose.